Come on back.
Whoa.
We're so glad you're here.
Oh my goodness. This looks amazing. This is beautiful.
Thank you.
Bro, there's your seat right over there.
Wow.
Come
Got all the goodies.
come gather around.
All the goodness. I was gonna make Thai, but then I was like, it would be the silliest thing in the world to make Thai when Ginger is right down the road.
Of course.
But we have pad Thai, some
good.
fried rice, and then this is my favorite soup in the whole world.
I know you like sweets.
Oh yeah, and we have all the gummies and goodies
Shut
and sour
up.
things for after.
No. Am I allowed to recommend that maybe we start with some of these?
Yes! Oh my gosh, I would love nothing
I'm for it.
more.
Dude,
I want
dots.
to try those ones.
Which ones?
Those, they're lifesaver
They look
gummies, but they're
amazing.
sour.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Suck it back.
Uh-huh.
This reminds me of Halloween as a kid,
Really?
getting it stuck in my braces. But
Totally.
I couldn't not eat it because
Yeah,
it's
you had
dots.
So those are like the most chewy candy.
Right, and you can never find them on Halloween.
Sour.
Yeah.
And it's like, if you do, it's like 4 in the little yellow box.
Yeah, that's
You know
all
what's
you can get in there.
So we want to dive into your story, and every story has a beginning, and yours has a unique beginning, and that is the hair. Where does the hair come from?
Oh my gosh.
What's the story?
Tell us.
So I used to have long curly hair, like not
Really?
quite Bonnie Kate.
Oh, yeah.
Like ringlets?
Yeah, like ringlets.
Okay.
It
Wow.
went to like probably here. My dream was to become a surfer, and I thought that I was gonna become a surfer. I subscribed to Surf Magazine,
No
but I was
way.
like landlocked. I lived like in Eastern Washington, almost by Idaho.
I love it.
And so at one point I just crossed this line where I had this tight curly hair, but the windows would be down in my car and stuff. And I would end up just being a real diva about the whole situation. And I'd be like, you guys roll up the window, like we're messing up my hair. What am I doing? And so I was like, I'm just gonna cut it short and figure it out. And I just, Ryan Seacrest was on TV, he was doing American Idol. I was like, I wanna do Ryan Seacrest hair.
There you go.
That's what I told my hair stylist. And so she cut it down to like Ryan Seacrest style, but it kept on doing this curl thing because my hair was
Right.
curly.
Yeah.
I went from having like 50
Right.
curls to my hair just wanted to do one curl, and I hated it. I thought it was the worst. And then one person one time said, man, your hair is so cool. Are you trying to do that? And I was like, yes.
Totally.
Yes, I am.
I am.
Totally, 100%. And so now it's like certainly on purpose, but when I wake up in the morning, it actually does that on its own.
Just the,
Like, yeah.
I mean, it is kind of like a
That's
wave
amazing.
breaking.
I know, it kind of does.
So the
It's
surfer
like,
thing-
The surfer thing has
Yeah,
come full circle.
full circle.
I went surfing for the first time last year.
Really?
So and it felt good. Like it
Oh,
felt
I
like it was meant to
bet.
be.
Were you surfing on the West Coast? Where are you from?
So I grew up in a small farm town in Washington,
Okay,
Washington State,
gotcha.
and I loved it. It was amazing. Just this tiny little town where you either are a farmer
Okay.
or you work for the university. My dad worked for the university.
Cool.
I loved the town. I'm somebody who loves new experiences, though. Lots of new experiences.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so Portland, Oregon was the exact opposite
opposite.
experience. I'd had a really good experience there. So I decided like, how can I get to Portland? Oh, I can go to college. Like
Perfect.
I'll get a thumbs up from my parents to move to Portland if I go to college there.
Yep.
I went to Portland State University,
Okay.
and it took me about a year before I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I tried to move away at one point. I tried to move to California.
Really?
Yeah, and I just kind of Bob Goffed it, where I was just like, I started calling up schools in California saying,
No way.
Take me
can
in.
you give me a scholarship? Here's how much money I have. Can you let me in?
Yeah.
And everybody was like, we can give you this much money. And it was still like a few $1,000s short of what I needed.
Right.
And so I ended up just being like, well, I guess I can't move. And so then, then that line crossed in Portland where I got to know like some of my best friends now in Portland, and
Wow.
started to like have new experiences and start gaining opportunities, and all of a sudden I loved it.
Is that when you picked up a camera? Is
So I had picked up a camera in high school,
Okay.
Uh-huh.
and I had become a professional photographer at like 16,
Wow.
Wow.
which is like unreal that
amazing.
anybody freaking paid
Were
me.
you studying photography at school?
I was advised not to. So
Uh-huh.
people told me, they're like, Brandon, if you graduate with a degree that says that like you can be a photographer, that doesn't mean you're ever gonna get work. You're gonna get work because your photos are good.
Right.
What will determine if you get work is if you can run a business. And so they're like, why don't you study business?
So smart.
And I was like marketing and advertising, so that's what I went to
Uh-huh.
study.
You
Here's
have
an
to.
idea,
All right.
just like in the middle of it,
Do it.
There you go.
Why not?
you know?
Cherry on top.
Fried rice and dots. And pad thai.
Chopsticks are not made for this, but I'm gonna make it work.
Do it.
Hey, look at you. You're rocking it.
Cool.
I'm not going to say that that's like the most positive experience. Not the worst experience.
I know. I think I'm gonna.
Maybe I'll never do that again.
But
I'm glad I did it. You were a kid.
Yeah. I
People
was
paying you. You're like, heck yeah.
Oh yeah, and I was just, it was total fake it till you make it.
Of course.
I was
I love
trying my
it.
best, and I would just like get these gigs, and I would freak out for, you know, the month before the shoot would happen.
Yep.
But in that time, just of being super scared, I would go to the library and check out books on
Right.
how to shoot fashion, or I would go online and like pay for a course on how to light a set,
study up.
all this stuff. And when you fake it till you make it, but you force yourself to move from point A to point B, it makes all the difference in the world.
It's amazing how much
yeah.
you can actually learn
Yeah.
when you're constrained.
Oh yeah, under
It's like
pressure.
you don't have unlimited resources. You got maybe
Yeah.
a camera and a couple lenses, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have a huge light kit. You don't have, you know what I mean? Like you don't have
Yeah.
time. You don't have experience, but like you either are pressed into a diamond or you're crushed.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? One of two things happens.
Totally.
I want to hear about where your sweet, beautiful Sammy fits into all this.
Yeah.
Did you meet her when you were in Portland?
So we dated long distance our entire relationship.
She had a crush on you, right? Like internet
so
crush.
So we met online.
Yeah.
We had never
I love
met in
it.
person when we first started talking. She was following me on Twitter. In all fairness, I had followed her and then unfollowed her. But
you purged
yeah,
one day.
I don't know what happened. It wasn't on purpose.
Sure.
But I did not continue following her. And so we got reconnected years later and just started talking. And I was like, this girl's really interesting.
Uh-huh.
And so I started kind of messaging her back and forth. We do these long messages, not like, hey, how are you? What's up?
Right.
Like, at the same time, it'd be like, I would write a long
novel.
letter,
Yeah.
and then she'd get home from work, and then
Uh-huh.
she would read it, and then respond to a long thing, and then I'd get back from a shoot, and you know, that type
Uh-huh.
of thing.
There's something nice about that because like
Oh, yeah.
when you're on the phone like long distance, it's so hard sometimes. When you have time to like think through what you want to say,
Mm-hmm.
write it in a way that's like cohesive and
Yeah,
meaningful, and then like you have time to receive that from someone,
totally.
and then like they have time to like receive it and think about it and then respond. It's like it's kind of a new depth, you know?
Yeah, and so we got to do that. But during that time, I learned, oh, this girl's about to go and study abroad in Europe.
Oh, wow.
And I had seen the Lizzie McGuire movie. Like, I know that you go and you either fall in love with Paulo or you fall in love with Gordo. Like, one or the other.
It's bound to happen.
It's bound to happen.
You're not
Or
Paulo
Ethan.
or Gordo.
Yeah,
Or Ethan.
exactly. So I was like, yeah, I'm like the guy at home. Like, I'm Miranda in this situation. I don't know. Miranda wasn't in that movie.
Oh man.
I'm like, crap. I've got to like make a move if I'm interested.
yeah,
in
you
this
gotta dial
girl.
in,
Right.
bro.
And so I said, hey, you want to Skype? And she's like, yeah, we can Skype. And so we had our first date over Skype.
Take us there. Were you like really nervous?
Oh, I was sweating the crap out of my armpits. Like, it was terrible. But the nice thing is, on Skype, nobody can see you sweat. But I was so nervous. Like, I remember my legs shaking underneath my table and
Wow.
the whole deal.
So where did y'all end up getting married?
We got married here in Nashville.
Okay.
After, I think it was about 4 years of dating long distance back and forth. The reason we were dating long distance because we both wanted to finish school.
Right.
And so we were like, well, let's just finish out our time in school and we'll get engaged and stuff right after. And so
Perfect.
basically my senior year, I fly out, surprise her, propose. 3 months later, we get married. And our wedding like was so low key. We decided, we're like, let's have just the things that we care about. We want food that we love.
Yes.
We want to dance, and we want there to be a lot of flowers. And we want just the people we care about.
Yep.
I love that that was
And
one
so,
of the priorities.
yeah, it was amazing. It was, oh my gosh, you would have loved it.
I know
But
I would.
our only decorations were flowers. We only had 30 people at our wedding, and we had donuts and our
intimate
favorite
is
barbecue
that?
place. How long did you guys live in the same city before you, like after you got married, before you
we jumped
hopped
in
in this
there?
guy?
Yeah.
A year.
A year.
So
Man.
a little while, but at the same
How
time.
long have you guys been married again?
Just over 3 years.
3 years, man.
Three and some change.
It's
That's
been
incredible.
so fun. We love it. And now we are doing the exact opposite of being in a place for a year. Been on the road for almost a year and a half, and we've been
Wow.
all over the
Almost.
place.
Yeah,
it'll be-
you've spent more time on the road than in a place.
For sure.
We have.
For sure.
Which is, I bet that the hardest thing for a lot of people in being in something like a Rosemary would be, you know, leaving behind all of the things that are familiar. But for you guys, this is more familiar.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, there are the constants like family you know, because both of our families are from Baton Rouge, but
And good friends.
right, and like lifelong, your friends
But
you've had
that's
since
kind of
high
all
school.
over.
Yeah.
Like the more you go, the more you kind of make family
Yep.
and
Oh,
friends
totally.
in a way.
And you have to, like, if you want to be community oriented,
Yeah.
and that's like a big part of like when we decided to do this, we were like, okay, like this is like people would look at this on the outside, and be like, oh,
Yeah.
this is cool or unique or whatever it is, right? Instagrammable, quote unquote. But like that only lasts for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then
You're
there's
like,
a lot of
I have
parts
to
of
dump
it.
my own pee water out. Like,
Yeah.
you don't have to do that in the
Right.
house. And
Yeah.
like we have to like take down plants and put them in a sink when we want to drive. And like Airstreams, they get so dirty so fast. So like there
But
is
they
this.
also get clean really quickly
That's true.
because it's so tiny.
Yeah.
So there's all these different payoffs.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like the grass is always greener, but when you get there, it's like, oh, it's actually just the same grass.
Yeah.
Just different, but it's the same grass. So
Mm-hmm.
so we've learned that like for it to be sustainable, it's like we have to build community.
And,
Yeah.
and having our little nook in Rosemary is
Yeah.
so homey.
Totally.
And like, that's our little nest. So even if stuff is crazy and we're in different places, not necessarily like our favorite or something
Yep.
hard is happening,
Yeah.
we have our little home,
Yep.
which
That's
is
great.
the constant.
Yep.
Yeah.
Besides, I mean, you're a constant too.
Besides each other.
Yeah, but
Okay, so here's a question for you guys.
Okay.
I had a friend tell me once, and I think that they're right, because a lot of times people talk online about like having an online community or an Instagram community.
Sure.
And I use those words all the time too. And he says, community is like genuine community is when you're like walking down the street and you're having a rough day, and you can just, you know, somebody could just see it on your face, and you bump into somebody who's actually in your community. You weren't expecting it. You're like at the grocery store, you're walking down the
Yeah.
street, whatever it is.
I love that.
And then you have that connection point. You talk about it, and all of a sudden, like you can, you know, deal with that in
Yeah,
the
share that
community.
load.
When you're online, obviously you're just seeing like the best of people's lives.
Yep.
right.
What is that like for you guys traveling?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how do you create intentional community? Because I know that you guys do that. You guys are so intentional. Like, what are you guys doing? Like, what are the little things so that you can
Yeah.
have not just like the high moments of being like around people, but like
Right.
the vulnerable moments too?
Totally. That's a great
I
question.
think one of the biggest ways is like inviting people over, people that we don't really know, and kind of putting ourselves out there, even if we're tired or, you know, the other night we were like, I don't know, my knee was hurting a lot. I wasn't feeling good, and Max was like, let's go out though. We can meet new friends. And then we met the most amazing couple.
Ashley,
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Time
Uh-huh.
project.
That's
Yeah.
And we had
amazing.
him over in the Airstream, and it was just the sweetest thing. Like, we instantly became
Have
best
to
of
hear their
friends.
story with their kiddos and like
Man.
hear about what she's doing with their
And
son.
so,
So incredible.
Yeah, it's
really
incredible.
was.
And like that, like I think so much of community is like being able to take, because when you're inward focused, especially me as a 4 Enneagram, which I know you love, like it's really easy to get like become a small package and look inward and become smaller. But like we may have been exhausted or I may have had edits to do, but you know
Yeah.
what? We took an hour and a half, we had them over, we got to absorb their story and maybe make their load lighter, which is actually fulfilling.
Yeah.
Because I think
totally.
like the best
Yeah.
way, like the surest way to find joy is to serve. I found is to just empty yourself, and vulnerability breeds vulnerability.
Totally.
So I think just being intentional about like nurturing old friendships that I know people that were in our wedding and friends from high school and like my brother-in-laws and family.
Yeah.
Like setting aside time to like touch base with my parents once a week, or best friends every other week, and like dial in and really, when we are having that time, talk about real things. But then like being open to like the excitement of new friendships.
yeah.
That's amazing.
And not being too scared to go deep and get real.
Yep, totally.
That's good.
Yep.
You want to fix your hat? Your hair is doing something right there. There you go.
She loves it when I wear my hat backwards.
It's my favorite.
I like wearing my
That's
hat
I think
forwards.
it's way
Yeah.
cuter.
I like
she
wearing my
likes-
hat forwards too.
I
Sammy's
love-
the same way. It's so
Does
funny.
Really?
Sammy
Does
like
she
it
like
backwards?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
She's like, you know, it would be kind of cool if you like put your hat backwards. I'm like, but like this way it blocks the sun.
I know, exactly. I mean, the community here in Nashville, I feel like a lot of that's evidenced in like how amazing your project has taken off.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, like
Talk
not to say that
about
the project's
good
not
company.
amazing. It obviously is, but like good, and sounds good, which we were so honored to be on.
Oh my gosh.
And now the
that was like the best way
newspaper-
for us to meet is having you guys on the podcast.
I love it.
So good.
So
Yes.
good.
I'm honored.
Literally
Like
so good.
Like look at this thing. It's so
Beautiful, by
Thank
the way.
you.
That's
I mean,
so
I
cool.
can't
Love it.
take credit for anything other than getting it to you.
But seriously,
because
just
we
look
have
at
a wonderful
it. Doesn't
designer.
it make you happy?
it's amazing.
Oh, it just makes me happy, even before I open it up and read the good news.
This is a huge project.
Yeah. Thank you.
It's major. And congratulations.
Thank you.
And by the time this episode airs, I'm sure people will have many more issues. tell me about, so Nashville, you're married, now you're working with your wife. Like, where did this start?
Yeah.
Like, how did this start?
I think that we all kind of collectively experienced the roughness that was 2016.
Yep.
Seeing, I think,
Yep.
a lot of us becoming more and more aware of, police brutality or
Terrorism.
just kind of racial inequality in this country.
Yep.
It felt like global terrorism might have been on the rise, or at least it was in the news more.
Right.
And then the political election kind of felt like it divided us more than ever.
It's like
Oh, yeah.
No matter what side of the spectrum you are on,
Exactly.
we all just kind of felt it.
Yep.
And in the middle of this, I was just kind of wrestling with, a lot of things in my personal life and, having a lot of conversations with people that were heavy and
Yeah.
just, wondering like why I felt so overwhelmed.
Yep.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I was seeing people around the world who were kind of resisting this negativity, even despite hardships in their lives. And you guys are absolutely like a part of that, which is unreal.
Thank
like,
you.
And it's been amazing to meet folks like you and Ruthie and so many other people who exemplify this idea of like living hopefully despite difficult things happening in their lives or the world around them.
And the thing I think is crucial to note with that, and not that we have figured this out, but what we're learning is that like it's not a blind eye to the pain, right? It's not this like unhealthy compartmentalization of like, oh no, another news blip of a terrorism attack. I'm just not going to think about that. I'm not going to look at that. It's like no,
Yeah.
like, you're going to look at that, and then you're going to look for the white helmets.
Totally.
You know?
Well, and that's the thing. There's this quote from Mr. Rogers. Let me see if I can find it in here.
It's the big colorful page.
It's the big page where he says, when I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mother would say to me, look for the helpers. You will always find people who are helping.
I love
And
it.
it's like my favorite quote of all time. And I love that idea of it's like, okay, don't like turn off the news. Like something bad happened in the world, it's important to engage with that,
Yeah.
to be there and be present,
Totally.
to mourn what happened, but then to go one step further and say, let's look for the people who are helping, because there will always be people who are helping.
Yes.
And in the very first time I heard your story was when you were on my podcast. You shared the hope within the heartbreak. And that's what I wanted this newspaper to be. Or it wasn't even a newspaper at this time. I was just like, we need to find a way to help people tackle this idea.
Yeah.
Right.
And to approach the world, because I saw too many people, you either do one of two things when there's injustices in the world, brokenness, pain, all these things. You either totally retreat into yourself and you remain like ignorant and blissful and optimistic, unhealthy,
Yeah.
or you go to the other end of the spectrum and become deeply cynical but hyper aware.
Yep.
And I felt myself go from the first one my whole life to the second one. And once I'd experienced both, I realized I didn't want either.
It's like emotional whiplash.
It's
like,
emotional whiplash, yeah.
what do I do? I don't know.
And
Back and forth.
and I just wanted to stay engaged with the world, to actually pay attention to the injustices happening, but to celebrate the people who are taking like action against those things.
Yeah.
And then to, when I could, actually be a part of the solution.
Yeah. Well, I love how it's actionable. So it's like you have three acts, like good, follow this person, better, donate, best, volunteer. You have these actionable things. And that's like the mission statement, right?
Yeah.
It's like hear good news and then
Yeah, celebrate good news, become good news.
there you go.
Because
I love it.
by hopefully celebrating it, it inspires you to look at all the helpers and become a helper yourself. And then you get to actually become a part of that solution. And then maybe you'll be in the next newspaper, and then and then someone will be inspired by you, and then they'll be in the next newspaper, and the cycle continues.
Sounds a lot like a movement.
Yeah. It's a ripple effect.
I've been
you know?
really blown away by our community who's like really taken on this idea.
Yeah.
And I know that it's so hard to get people to actually take action and to actually do things in the world, and especially with heavy things. But I've been so blown away by people's willingness to step in and engage. And so, I created this newspaper because I needed a tool for myself.
Yeah.
And so to see other people joining in and saying that they are able to use this, it's so exciting.
It's amazing
I love
because it really is, just in the fact that this and the weekly newsletter, email newsletter, and the podcast exists, gives people permission to have them. It's like, hey, you know what? Like this young dude who's never launched a newspaper, launched a newspaper. And that wasn't easy, but like you did that. And now you've accumulated these stories and you've employed your friends and you've made something that's beautiful in the world and
Oh,
like
yeah.
it's well designed, and like the fact that this exists, I think, is a vessel for hope, and you should be very proud of that.
Oh
Thank
yeah,
you.
really should, Brandon.
Really should.
Like
It's
it's
awesome.
amazing.
Incredible.
What do you think out of you have seen and probably experienced so many incredible things and stories?
Yeah, between the podcast and
Uh-huh.
like this, like what are some highlights for you story
Yeah, like crazy moments or crazy things where you're just
Man.
like, wow, I can't believe that I'm here right now and that happened and whatever.
It's a really good question, and it is so hard.
You probably
Uh,
have a lot of answers.
Yeah, highlight maybe 2 or 3 come to mind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I think, so when I first started the podcast, I really thought that it was gonna be a podcast on happiness.
Yeah.
I was like, there's a lot of people putting happiness out in the world.
Yeah.
I should have conversations with people doing that.
Yep.
And the second person I interviewed was our friend Ruthie Lindsay.
Yes.
She was
And
your second person?
She was our second
No
interview.
way.
I just texted her, I was like, hey, you wanna be on my podcast? I just started it. And she's one of our most popular episodes now, which is incredible. And it's, of course. But the thing that I figured out really quickly, as soon as I had that second conversation, was this is not a conversation about happiness. This is a conversation about hope. And
Yes.
the people with the most hope are the people who have experienced the biggest difficulties, the biggest losses, the
So
most
true.
struggles. And I think that that was a really challenging moment for me where I realized this thing that I was seeking wasn't happiness. It wasn't just like LOLs and,
Yeah.
and internet joy. It was something much deeper, and it requires a lot more
Yeah.
to get that too. It
Oh,
requires
yeah.
going a lot deeper
Yeah.
than I had ever even considered going.
Wow.
Some people are forced into it. I think that, you know, you guys are a perfect example of people who are
Yeah,
forced into trauma and
Mm-hmm.
and then you found joy on the other side of that.
right. And so much good has come out of it that
Yeah.
we would not have experienced unless we had been through the fire, you know?
Yeah.
Like we would not be having this picnic right now.
Would not be living that
We wouldn't be living in that.
That
We probably wouldn't even be married.
baked potato on wheels. Yeah.
You know?
But I think, I don't know, I just love looking at the statistics in the world. Like, that's been the biggest thing for me, is especially with the newspaper, because we can create infographics and throw in actual articles just filled with data on
Yeah.
how the world is becoming a better place. It's becoming safer. You know, global terrorism, as far as our most recent data shows, is actually on decline.
Wow.
In the United States, the crime rate has fallen significantly since the 1970s. Like,
Really? I
it
had
is
no idea.
unreal. And you wouldn't know it based off of the news.
No.
And it's,
Suicide rates too.
yeah,
Teens.
suicide rates among, especially like teens, is dropping.
Yep.
It's
Wow.
all of these things that, you know, are really powerful. And it's not that the news is lying. The news's job is to talk about things that are new. And so
Yeah.
when there is, you know, something bad that happens in the world, that's new, it's a rarity. It's something that's not commonplace, so they report
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Right.
But we forget sometimes that that's just something that's new. It's a rarity, and that's why they're reporting it.
Right.
And so
You can
looking
take a
at these-
holistic trend.
Exactly. When you
Yeah.
look at the holistic trends, and that's my favorite thing. I look at the AIDS rate. So AIDS is like, we just hit the point where more than 50% of people who have HIV/AIDS are being treated.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when you're treated, the medicine is now good enough that you live basically the same amount of life as everybody else, which is
Wow.
unreal. Like,
Yeah.
and you can
That
look.
was a death sentence 40 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
And now it's like you can live a happy and full life. And I just got back
Wow.
from Rwanda with the good folks at Red and
Yeah.
the Global Fund, who are fighting. They're at the forefront of this fight against
Wow.
AIDS. And I can like see the moment that people decided to step up and make a difference. You can see the moment that George Bush said, I'm going to create PEPFAR, and that Bono said, hey, I'm going to make people more and more aware
Yep.
of
Uh-huh.
what's going on with HIV/AIDS. And you can see the moment that people marched in the streets in the United States, and that whole thing had this effect. And you can just see cause, effect, and the data of how that all happened.
Wow.
I remember when Gap had the campaign, like
Yeah.
Inspired RED, like the Red campaign was everywhere.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing.
And it woke people up, and people were able to join in. They were able to celebrate the
Yeah.
fact that there is a way to change people's lives.
Yep.
And, you know, in that case, it's like, it's as easy as buying a t-shirt.
Yep.
And then Gap gives money to actually
Right.
have this effect. And then people can actually join in and become a part of that good news by just buying the t-shirt, you know,
So
like,
good, yeah.
and there's
Or the
so
wristband,
much,
the wristband craze. you know?
exactly. It's, you know, and those are the little things where it's like in the newspaper, we want to have all these different levels of action steps. And we would say that that's on the on the lower end of like, oh, just like buy something and go towards the cause.
Yep.
But then you can also show up on the ground and say, I'm gonna make a difference by volunteering my time or my energy or my passions.
Yep.
Yes.
There's this full spectrum, and for all of us, it's different what we care about, what we
Yep.
actually want to join in with.
Yeah.
But
So good.
yeah, it's
That's
been so
amazing.
fun.
So, we got some curveballs for you.
Whoa.
All right.
Do I get to eat a peanut butter cup while you
Yes.
throw me a
Yes,
curveball?
you do.
All right. So, question number 1: 40 years from now, what do you want to remember about this time in your life?
Yeah, like what's something special that you don't want to ever forget?
You know, despite all of this cool stuff that I've gotten to do, all the adventures I get to have,
Yeah.
the thing that I want to remember about this time is the time spent with Sammy. The time that we, you know, are intentional about unplugging and shutting down and actually being together.
Connecting.
And so it's, I guess that is something that I'm trying to grow into more and more and more because I'm so passionate about this and love all of this. But the memories that I'm actually going to care about years from now, the things I'm
yeah.
actually going to be passionate about and hold dear will be the little moments. And not even like the time that Sammy and I went to Mexico or the time that Sammy and I went to Africa, you know, like
Right.
those are cool moments, but it's going to be like the time where we like giggled in our pajamas at the grocery store because we like had to go pick up Ben and Jerry's. Like,
I love it.
just like
Yes.
the little moments like that like those are the things that I think matter and that make a life. And so I'm just trying to create more of them and
Yeah.
live into them.
I love that.
Beautiful.
That's so good.
That's great. I'm
Okay.
gonna file that away.
Yes.
File that away from Max.
Yes.
All right,
Okay,
question
I'm
number-
gonna
number
file
two.
some of these away.
Yes, please. So, if you could get on a plane tonight and go anywhere in the world, where would you go and why?
It's a toss-up between two places.
Okay.
Yeah.
My two favorite cities in the entire country are Kigali, Rwanda, which I call the Portland, Oregon of Africa.
That's amazing.
And it's just like a
What a
beautiful,
combination.
hopeful city that's overcome so much
Yeah.
and it's full of so much strength and resilience, but it's also beautiful and there's
Yeah.
delicious food and it's just like a little gem in the middle of somewhere that you might not expect.
Right.
Right.
And the other city is Hong Kong, which is just like
Really?
gorgeous. It's this beautiful blend between,
So cool.
it feels like the Pacific Northwest meets Asia meets New York City.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
And-
goodness.
Wow.
What a mix.
And I love it. And you can like eat delicious food and you can take the subway. And I was there for like 2 weeks or something one time. And you know, I didn't speak a lick of Cantonese or Mandarin and I just figured out my way around the city and I just like would just try to have conversations with people on the
So
subway
fun.
and people were like nice but didn't want to talk to me and like that's fine because I'm funny looking and I don't know. So those are just two cities that I've like had really
Yeah.
positive experiences in
Yeah.
where I love the people, love the
Yes.
culture, love the beauty.
Yeah.
Yes.
So both?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
Good.
There you go.
I
Let's
think
get a round
that's
trip.
awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Or
I
maybe
didn't say how many stops.
it's a layover.
It's
Yeah,
a- there you go.
Right.
2-week layover.
exactly.
Quite a layover.
That's a good question.
All right, last question. I think you're gonna love this one. What do you hope when we're long gone that our generation is known for?
That's such a good question because there's so much, like every single day in the news, like people are like, oh, it's like the avocado toast generation. And I'm like, no,
Oh, golly.
what are you doing?
Hashtag Ginger.
Yeah.
Please stop.
Oh man. But I think that our generation is the generation that grew up with technology.
Yep.
And we came of age alongside the internet. And we're gonna have to be the generation to set the example for the next generation on how to engage with technology and how to actually use that time that we save to actually make an impact in
Wow.
some different way. So it's kind of a twofold idea of I think
I
that
love that though.
we're gonna learn how to not be controlled by our devices and by the internet and by all of these communications tools.
Yeah.
We're gonna learn to use them as tools
Yes.
to actually make a difference. We're not gonna be
Oh.
reliant on them. We're gonna use them.
Yeah.
I love
'Cause
that.
The time they save can also be eaten away by the time that we invest in them.
Exactly.
Or
because-
like numbing
Exactly.
like
Yes.
through them or something.
And I think
like
that's the biggest thing that I
Yep.
think that we all kind of naturally will do that is like we just unplug from the world
Yep.
by choosing technology. But what if we engaged with the world by
Yep.
using technology?
I love that.
For our friends who are watching, where do people keep up with you and this amazing life that you're a part of and you're leading? Where do people stay connected?
Man.
In the right way.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh man, I mean I love Instagram, Twitter, like those are where like my people are.
Yeah.
And I'm my name everywhere online. My name's spelled a little bit funny, but it's Brandon Harvey. You can find it. And then all the stuff that we do online, we're called Good. And so that's where we create the podcast, which is like my favorite place, and then the newspaper and the newsletter, and
I love it. Awesome.
Well, I'm following. Been following for a long time.
Yes.
I'm so honored, guys.
And now I'm gonna stuff my face with Swedish fish.
Oh my goodness, yeah, I think that's really important.
It is. That's maybe
need
the
some
most
of
important.
that chocolate in my life.
Oh yeah, oh it's good. It's really good.
I got baby ones and a big thing.
Have you ever had chocolate covered gummy bears before?
Yeah.
They're amazing.
So good. What about
No.
is it the
If I'm
gummy
going
chocolate combo that you don't like?
I think it's gummy because I like chocolate.
Hey guys, thank you so much for watching.
Make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment critiquing my hair, maybe use an emoji, and share this video on social media.
Yes, we can't wait to be of interest with you.
See you guys next time.